cheating wife, who abandoned me during my hospitalization, now seeks forgiveness after 12 long years. My name is Jason, and I'm a 47-year-old man. I need some advice on how to deal with what happened to me in my life. It all started 12 years ago, when I was happily married to Susan, my first wife. We had 2 kids, Laura and Lucas, who were 5 and 3 at the time. Our life was normal and peaceful until that fateful day. I was on my way to work one morning when a car from the other lane crashed into mine at high speed. The next thing I knew, I was in a hospital bed, wrapped in bandages and casts. The nurse told me that I had been in a coma for 2 days. I thanked my doctor for saving my life. I felt lucky to be alive, but I didn't know the tragedy that was waiting for me. After a week of recovery, my doctor told me that I had lost the use of my lower body and that I might never walk again. I was crushed. Susan was in tears when she heard the news. It was obviously hard for her to handle everything at home and take care of the kids. I sank into depression, unable to accept my life in a wheelchair. I spent my days looking at the blank walls of my hospital room, wondering how my life had changed so drastically. I thought about how I would never play soccer with my kids, how I would never dance with my wife, and how I would never be free again. To make things worse, Susan stopped coming to see me. In the beginning, she would bring the kids 3 times a week. Those were the only moments that gave me some joy, but as time went by, her visits became less frequent. I begged her to bring the kids more often, but she said that they didn't want to see me so much. I felt hopeless. Then one day, she gave me the divorce papers, saying, "I can't live with a handicapped man. I'm still young and attractive. I deserve a normal man." I won't lie and say that I didn't see it coming. I sensed the distance between us when she started to act cold towards me, but I didn't expect it to happen so soon. A month after my accident, some of my friends told me that they had seen Susan walking around with a middle-aged man, probably in his 50s, in cafes and malls in the evenings and on weekends. Some said that she had been cheating on me before my accident, and some said that she had settled for a fat, grumpy old man after my accident. It was only 2 months after my accident. I was still in the hospital, and I got the divorce papers. I may sound calm now, but I was far from it back then. I was angry, devastated, and heartbroken. I was stuck in a wheelchair, broke, and divorced, with no income or savings. After paying for the household bills and the kids' education, I had no money left. Thankfully, I had insurance that covered some of my hospital expenses. I had to use up my savings for the rest, so in the end, I had nothing. I wanted to scream, bang my head against the wall, and curse my fate. I don't know how I survived back then, but something inside me kept me going. Maybe the desire for revenge. After I got out of the hospital, I moved in with my parents. I was 35, divorced, with no income, and relying on my old mother, physically and financially. My mother was a florist. She had a small shop in the suburbs. The little income from the shop and her pension was enough for her needs. With that limited resources, she offered to help me. It was the most humiliating feeling for a 35-year-old man to depend on a 62-year-old mother. Soon after I left the hospital, I went to see my kids. When I got to my house, it was locked. I found out from the neighbors that Susan had moved in with her lover and taken the kids with her. The neighbors said that Susan's lover was a fat old man who had been divorced 3 times, but was very rich and had no kids. Some called Susan a gold digger and a low life for sleeping with a cranky old man for his money. I got the address of her boyfriend and went to his house. When I got to Susan's new place, she refused to let me see my kids, saying that they had gotten used to her boyfriend and even called him daddy. She said that my sudden appearance would only confuse them more. She threatened me with a restraining order if I tried to see my kids again. I had no money to hire a lawyer. I was living on my mother's modest income, so I had no choice but to back off. It was less than 6 months after my accident and only a few months after our divorce. She was already with another man. I felt sick. I asked her how she could leave me and move on so fast. I know it was childish. I was a helpless, wheelchair-bound dad. What else could I do? I begged her for one chance to show her my worth. She mocked me, saying that I was and a drag in her life. I asked her if she had been cheating on me before the divorce, because we had just divorced a month ago, and she was already living with her lover. She pushed me away, saying that it was none of my business and that I should never come near her again. I stared at her, thinking about the 7 years we had spent together as a married couple and how she had replaced me with another man in a few months. I left the place with tears in my eyes. I went back home, feeling crushed by the humiliation. I cried like a 5-year-old in front of my mother, who comforted me. She encouraged me to take control of my life. I had no idea what to do with my life. I had no direction to start with. I joined my mother in her shop. I helped her make bouquets, serve the customers, and clean the shop. Soon, I realized that the business had a lot of potential to grow, but my mother was too weak to do it alone. I used my old contacts to get contracts with event management companies to supply flowers for the events. Gradually, I built a team and took contracts for venue decorations, and eventually started my own event management company. It took me 12 long years to rebuild my life for myself. My mother was there for me all along. She supported me and motivated me to bounce back. A year after my accident, I heard that Susan was leaving the city with my kids and her lover. I rushed to the house to see my kids, but they had already left by the time I got there. Before that, I had tried to contact my kids many times, but Susan had insulted me and chased me away every time. Susan had full custody of the kids and could make all the decisions for them. Since I was physically and financially challenged, I could not fight for joint custody. I couldn't fight her restraining order because I was too poor to afford a lawyer, while Susan had a rich boyfriend, Evan. I didn't know if he had been with her before my accident or if not, how he had suddenly shown up in Susan's life. The only thing I knew about him was that he was a rich man with a lot of inherited property. In the past 12 years, I tried to see my kids whenever I had a chance, but I never succeeded. Susan threatened to have me arrested, as her boyfriend had the money and the connections to do anything. By the way, that man never married Susan, even after 12 years, though they lived together. A year ago, I finally applied for joint custody. I was waiting for my event management business to become stable. I applied for custody and managed to get 15 days. They are flying to my house next week, even though Susan did everything to stop me in court. I hired a good lawyer who made a strong case for me, and I got 15 days. My kids are adults now, and they said they wanted to see me when they were asked. I know I can't make up for the 12 years I missed, but I want to spend some quality time with my kids. As the time is getting closer, I feel both nervous and happy. They are 17 and 15 now. I know teenagers can be difficult these days. I hope that my kids are not rude and nasty to me. I don't know what Susan has told them in the past 12 years, and if I should tell them the truth about their mother. I don't know. Do you have any advice for me? How should I talk to them? I'm very nervous and very excited. Update 1. Hi everyone. I have a lot to update you on. I left out 2 important pieces of information in my previous post. First, about my current wife, Amy. Yes, I married a beautiful woman 5 years ago. Amy is an interior designer. I met her at an event where she was in charge of the wedding venue design, and we were supplying the flowers. I hadn't started my own company yet at that time. It wasn't love at first sight, but we got along well. We met again for several events in the next few months and became friends. She was a single mother of a 3-year-old girl. She came up with the idea of starting the event management company because she had worked for one of the companies for many years and had the contacts and knowledge of the business. I joined her to start the business. We dated for a year before we got married. Now we live as a happy family of 4. Amy, her daughter Mia, my mother, and me. Her daughter was happy to have a granny, and so was my mother. The second piece of information was about the accident compensation. I was hit by a speeding truck, so I should have received compensation from the logistics company that owned the truck. But at that time, the company managed to pay nothing by twisting the facts about the accident and blaming me. I couldn't afford a good lawyer back then, so I got nothing. You know how big companies operate. They pay a lot to their lawyers to protect themselves. After I married Amy, she suggested that I file the case again, since we could pay for a good lawyer. The case is still in court, but my lawyer has given us a positive sign that the verdict would be in our favor. Okay, back to my story. As I said in my previous post 3 months ago, my kids were supposed to come to see me after 12 years of being divorced. I was nervous and excited, but Amy helped me calm down and supported me all this time. I went to pick them up from the airport. The older one, Laura, is 15 now, and the younger one, Lucas, is 13. They have grown up to be beautiful and handsome teenagers. After the initial greetings, we didn't have much to talk about. It was awkward for all 3 of us. On our way to the house from the airport, I tried to make some conversation and ask them about their school life and city. I avoided talking about their mother on purpose. They didn't mention her either. The kids were very quiet, or maybe they just wanted to put on their earphones like any other teenager. When we got home, Amy welcomed us. The kids looked shocked, as if they didn't expect this. I don't know why Amy was a surprise to them. When their mother could live with another man within months of our divorce, why can't I remarry? Amy had prepared the guest room for the kids. We had lunch together, and Amy showed them the vacation plan we had made for the family. They didn't show much emotion to anything. They weren't excited, but they didn't reject the plan either. Amy and I were puzzled by their mixed reaction. They went to their room and locked the door. Soon after, I got a call from their mother, Susan, who accused me of deceiving our kids. She said I brought them to my house so Amy and I could brainwash them. I was confused by her behavior. She blamed me for hiding the truth about my marriage. I didn't understand her accusations. I hung up on her, but she kept calling me. I decided to face the issue. I called my kids and asked them what was wrong. After some hesitation, they opened up. They were angry at me because they were told that I had left them. Susan had poisoned their minds against me and had filled their heads with lies and deception. I told them the real truth, that it was not me. Their mother ran to another man as soon as she had the chance. They were young then, but they still remembered those events. I told them how Susan took them away to the old man's house and how she threatened and chased me away every time I tried to reach them. I showed them the restraining order and all my rejected requests to see them. They cried and regretted believing their mother's lies all these years. My younger son, Lucas, confessed that he once tried to contact me on social media, but Susan caught him. She emotionally blackmailed him and made him promise that he would never contact me again. The kids also admitted that they were treated badly by Susan's husband. Susan and the kids were looked down on at the family gatherings because they were not married. Susan stayed as a mistress in his house, though the man paid for their education. He was never a father to them. My heart broke as I learned about my kids' hardship. After the truth came out, we hugged each other and cried our eyes out. We went for a week-long vacation in Florida and had a wonderful time together. Laura and Lucas got along with Amy and Mia, who was turning 8 this year. I was overjoyed to see my whole family together. My kids posted our group photos on social media with the caption "Happy Family." As soon as Susan saw those photos, she called them and scolded them for their stupid behavior. She blamed them for betraying her by bonding with us. She texted me, threatening that she would not let me see my kids again if I did anything to turn them against her. I ignored her empty threats and enjoyed our vacation. After we came back from the vacation, my kids met my relatives. My relatives welcomed them warmly, and I was happy to see the old bonds revived. When they were about to leave, they promised to stay in touch despite Susan's threats. They said that they felt trapped in that house, and they would come back to me once they finished high school. I hugged them and said goodbye. After they went back, they confronted Susan about her wickedness, but she blamed me, accusing me of manipulating them against her. It's been a few months since they came back, but we talk regularly. I hope to have them back with me. I'll update you if anything happens. Thanks a lot. Update 2. Hi everyone. I'm sorry for the long delay in updating. There's been a lot of drama in the past 6 months. After I met my kids for the first time 3 months ago, the court case with the logistics company was settled. Guess what? I got a huge compensation, not only for the accident, but for the unfairness in the first trial. I don't know if I told you this before. The logistics company that owned the truck that hit my car twisted the case and blamed me for the accident, so I didn't get any money. I filed the case again at my wife's suggestion and won this time. I told my kids the news and they were very happy. They wanted to see me, and I promised to bring them back with me for good. A month later, Susan came to my office. She grabbed my hand and asked me to forgive her. I was shocked to see her. She said that after my accident, she became desperate. She found an old man who was looking for a sugar baby. I didn't know what that meant until I searched it online that day. The man had some bad experiences with younger women who took his money and left him. So he chose a not-so-young sugar girl, Susan, who was 32 then. Susan had 2 kids, which made him trust her more. The man made it clear that he would not marry her and only keep her as his mistress because he didn't want to share his inheritance with my kids. Susan agreed to his terms because he promised to feed and pay for their education. I asked her why she didn't get a job. She said she had never worked and didn't think she could earn the same lifestyle that her lover gave her for free. She kept saying that she did everything for the kids' future. She said that the kids would have grown up poor if she didn't do that. I was so annoyed by her whining that I shouted at her, saying she could have given me a chance to recover. If she cared so much about our kids' future, she should have talked to me instead of leaving me without any warning. I told her that I had moved on, and her pleas didn't matter. She reminded me of all the happy times we had, like our wedding day, the birth of our 2 kids, etc. I pushed her away, saying I was a different person now, and those memories had gone away. They meant nothing to me. She crossed the line by saying that she and my kids were my real family, not Amy and Mia. She said that Mia was not my daughter, and that I could never have a real family with Amy and Mia. I was disgusted by her mean mind. She wanted me to take her back, so the real family could be together again. I told her that I love Amy and Mia, and they are my real family and not her. She refused to leave my office and made a scene. She only left when I threatened to call the police. I went back home and told my mother and Amy what happened. Amy was upset by this, but she is a sensible woman and didn't make a fuss about it. My mother said that she always disliked Susan for her selfishness. Mom even said that Susan came back to me only for the money I got from the court case. That woman is a gold digger for sure. When my kids found out about their mother's actions, They scolded her and told her to mind her own business. I don't know how her sugar daddy learned about this, and he warned her to leave me alone or he would kick her out. I was grateful to him for that. The latest news is that my kids are coming to live with me this month. They will stay with us for a while before I enroll them in a nearby college. They wanted to have fun in their college life and live in a hostel. I think we should stay in touch, but also give ourselves some room to get to know each other. The kids have left Susan, and in the end, she has nothing but her sugar daddy. I hope she enjoys the sugar until it turns bitter. My opinion, this is a story of resilience, forgiveness, and love. It shows how a man overcame a terrible accident, a betrayal, and a divorce to rebuild his life and reconnect with his kids. It also shows how he found a new partner, a new business, and a new family. He faced many challenges and obstacles, but he never gave up hope. He also learned to forgive his ex-wife, who left him for another man and lied to their kids. He realized that he had moved on and that he had a real family with his wife, his mother, and his kids. He was grateful for the second chance he got in life, and he didn't take anything for granted. He cherished every moment he spent with his family, and he looked forward to the future. Thank you for listening to his story and for your advice. I hope it inspires someone who is going through a hard time. Remember, there is always hope and there is always love.